This episode is brought to you by The Science of Scaling. And The Science of Scaling is a podcast that, honestly, you should check out.
Yeah, it's called The Science of Scaling, and it's all about how to scale a business successfully, whether it's how to find outside capital or what to look for in your very first sales hire.
It's a new show hosted by Mark Roberge. She's the best-selling author of The Sales Acceleration Formula. He's also a senior lecturer at Harvard Business School and the founding CRO of HubSpot.
One thing that Mark mentions in the show is whether your company is valued at $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, the failure rate is the same, which means we suck at scaling.
In each episode, you'll hear interviews with people like Kyle Parrish, the VP of Sales at Figma, and Kevin Egan, the head of sales at Atlassian.
I've checked out a few episodes of The Science of Scaling, and it's great. Like, for me, I run a company as a bootstrap company. We're not the kind of company that's raised capital, but even still, things like sales, that's super important, and it's the lifeblood of our company. So for me, it's definitely helpful to hear how other people have sort of, who have been there and done it before, how they're actually approaching scaling. So go on in your favorite podcast app, whatever it might be, and search for The Science of Scaling. That's The Science of Scaling. Check it out. I think you're really going to enjoy it. This episode of Rocketship.fm is sponsored by Industry, the Product Conference. This October, gather with hundreds of product managers and product leaders from all around the world for 2 days of keynote talks, challenging working sessions, interactive discussions, social events, and more. Or add a third day and take part in half-day workshops with some of today's top product management facilitators for workshops on leading your teams to innovation, product roadmaps, achieving product market fit, and more. This year's lineup may be the best yet, with keynote speakers including product legend Marty Kagan. He's the author of the book Inspired, which is considered by many to be the seminal book for product managers and product leaders. There's also product positioning expert and author of Obviously Awesome April Dunford, and product leaders from Figma, IDEO, Amplitude, and so many other places. Plus, if you use the code Rocketship, you'll save $100 off your pass. Visit industryconference.com/global for more details. Again, industryconference/global for more information, but pricing increases on the first of the month, so register soon to save.
So as many of you may know, I ventured out this year. I left my job as the chief product officer at Dribbble to start a brand new company, and that company is gigantic. No, really, that's the name. We're actually very small today, but we are the training institute of the future. And my goal is to help you master the new influential disciplines that are driving results within organizations. And we're starting with some absolutely incredible courses like product leadership taught by Ben Foster, the former CPO at Whoop, deconstructing leadership with Allison Go, formerly of Meta and Amazon. We have revolutionizing marketing with AI, which is taught by Marie Osipova, who is the chief marketing officer at Penny.ai, and an upcoming product management course, which is taught by my co-host, Mike Belcito, along with Anna Marie Clifton of Coinbase and Asana, and Victoria Kennedy, who worked at Axios and Huge, and is now running her own venture capital studio. It's not just video courses. We're combining video lectures with take-home assignments and exercises, and then small group mentorship to really help make this information indelible for you and to help level you up, and all at a cost that most companies' learning and development budget covers. So if you're interested, go to gigantic.is, that's gigantic.is, sign up for a course, and you can actually schedule a call with me, and I'll walk you through everything that you need to know. And if you enroll and let me know that you heard about this on Rocketship, I've got a special discount for you. So go to gigantic.is, sign up today, and start your journey upskilling your product, leadership, and marketing skills. I can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to the Rocketship podcast. I'm Michael Sacca.
I'm Joelle Steiniger.
And I'm Matt Goldman.
And we're having 20-minute talks with entrepreneurs teaching you how to launch your product into revenue.
Check out our book at howtobuildarocketship.com to reserve your launch discount and to download a free chapter. This week, we talked with Ryan Hoover, the founder of Product Hunt. You'll learn how he and his partner, Nathan Bashaw, released the smallest possible version of their product in less than a week. You'll also learn how he consistently puts out content on sites like Pando Daily and Fast Company. Enjoy.
So we're here with Ryan Hoover of Product Hunt. Product Hunt is a new service that allows you to discover the latest products that people are sharing. So Ryan, why don't you kind of kick us off with a quick intro to Product Hunt?
Sure. Thanks for having me. This is excited to talk about this. Who isn't excited to talk about themselves, you know? So Product Hunt is something that we launched, me and Nathan Bashaw launched roughly 2 months ago or so. And it ultimately started from just my interest in product. I've been working in product and technology now for 4 or 5 years, and I just love talking about products and geeking out about products with other smart people. That's often what happens when I meet other entrepreneurs. We talk about what apps are you playing with, what products are you discovering, what's in your home screen. And so I had this desire to, okay, how do you take that offline kind of conversation and engagement? How do you bring it online? And so I initially created essentially an email list with maybe 20 or 30 founders and investors that I knew, and just told them, hey, here's this email list, contribute cool products you find, and each day the digest is emailed to the group. And I enjoyed it. I liked finding these products, and then more and more people started subscribing. A few different people came up to me and said, hey, that Product Hunt thing is really cool. I love it, and I look forward to those daily emails. So short story is we took that and built an actual product out of that. Effectively, it's kind of like a Hacker News style model, and where contributors post products, they enter the link of the product, the name of the product, short tagline, and then the community upvotes what they think is the coolest. And within each post, you can also comment and discuss that product or competitors or other things like that about the product.
Now, you've built the prototype in 5 days. Tell us a little bit about that process and how you were able to get the smallest possible version out. Yeah.
So to even backtrack a little bit further, so I consider myself non-technical in that I can do front end stuff, but I'm not able to build like a Ruby on Rails application. Just never invested that in myself. And so with the email list, I found, okay, there's something here with this Product Hunt email list. There's some opportunity. Maybe we should build this into a real product. So I reached out to my buddy, Nathan Bashaw, who's like a unicorn. He's designer, developer, product-minded guy. And I asked him, like, hey, what should I build this in? I want to learn, I want to build this easily and quickly. Should I use Telescope? Should I use Ruby on Rails? What should I do? And this was right before Thanksgiving, actually. So he responded and said, hey, I got some time over Thanksgiving. I'm going to be going back to my folks' place. Why don't we work on this and I'll bang this out, over the break. So he gets the credit for the entire implementation development of Product Hunt. And it was roughly 4 or 5 days, I can't remember, is how long it took him to build the first version, which doesn't look much different than it does today. So super quick. He's done these before. And our entire goal was to build something quickly and get it to that early adopter, like 20, 30 people, and getting feedback as quickly as possible. So we had to be really strict on what features we wanted to include, what features we could realistically include. And we really cut it down to the bare minimum. So it started off as basically you can post a product, a link to the product, a tagline, people can upvote, and there's basic flat feed commenting. That was it. We use Twitter for authentication, so we don't have to build an authentication system. We lacked a lot of things like being able to hide posts. We had to go in the database to hide posts if someone posted something that wasn't appropriate. There are a lot of things missing, but again, we want to just get this out as quickly as possible and then seed the community and get their feedback quickly.
So besides being able to bang this out in a really short time period, which is awesome, the other cool thing about it is that it seems like you had a launch pad of people that previously knew about you on both sides. Usually it's really hard to do a marketplace, but you had people to both submit links and people that were willing. You said that you had a couple hundred subscribers out of the gate that wanted to receive the products. Where did that audience come from?
Yeah, the initial email list, I intentionally didn't market that. So when I first built the email list, I actually just posted on Twitter and on Quib, actually, where I built a decent following of entrepreneurs and founders. And that's where it seeded the initial community of roughly 150 subscribers and maybe 20 or 30 contributors. And some of those were also just from our network of people we reached out to directly. And then from there, it's just grown over time. So we've opened it up and reached out to more and more people on our network. And of course, once it launched, we also did some more marketing. But frankly, it's largely, if we tried to launch Product Hunt 6 or 9 months ago, it wouldn't be where it is today in many ways. A lot of, I guess, its success has been based on kind of the following and audience that Nathan and I have built over the past year or so, and sort of the trust that we've acquired. And that's why a lot of these products take so long for many others that haven't built a following. And a lot of it's just been through blogging and connecting with others and other products I've worked on.
And at this stage, how are you guys driving traffic to it? Is it just through posts getting shared on Twitter?
That's part of it. It's right now our focus is engagement and retention, making sure that the community enjoys the product and that it's growing at a healthy pace. But in terms of acquisition, a lot of it has been driven by either word of mouth or some of the press that we've been pushing. So there's, I guess, two different types of press. We did a launch in Pando Daily. I did an interview with Carmel from Pando, and she wrote about Product Hunt when we publicly announced it. And then we've had a few other people write things about Product Hunt. And then I've done maybe three or four different guest posts on either Pando Daily or Fast Company, just writing about our learnings and our experience with Product Hunt.
So Pando Daily is a great place to launch. Tell us a little bit how you got the article feature there. You were able to land that interview.
It kind of goes back to what I was saying before. I wouldn't have gotten that connection with Carmel or been able to launch on Pando if I hadn't built those relationships prior to that. So I've been writing on Pando Daily for, I don't know how many times, maybe four or five essays I've contributed. And so they have some respect for my writing, and they're willing to listen to me because I've offered these essays for free, and it's only good content for them. And so when I reached out to Carmel, I'd actually met her once in person before. She was receptive, and I think it was last minute. I'm surprised that she took the call last minute, but we met up at what was it called? Homestead in the Mission, if you're familiar with San Francisco, and just did an interview. And for some reporters, it's all about timing too. Sometimes they're looking for good stories, and you just have to get lucky there. But it's largely based on just the relationships I built with Carmel and others in the industry.
That's the sound of another sale on Shopify, and the moment another business dream becomes a reality. Because if you're selling online and you're not using Shopify, I don't know why you're making your life harder. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide, whether you're selling, rare kicks to the latest product course that you developed. Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can focus on successfully growing your business. Shopify covers every sales channel, from an in-person POS to an all-in-one e-commerce platform. It even lets you sell on marketplaces like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram so you can get closer to the sale. It's incredible. Packed with industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without having to learn any new skills. Plus, it's got 24/7 support, so someone's always there when you need it. We have been using Shopify on Dribbble since, honestly, before I got there, and that's over 6 years ago. So it's your turn to get serious about selling and try Shopify today. Sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/rocketship, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/rocketship to take your business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/rocketship. This episode is brought to you by Miro. So when I was at Dribbble, over the 6 years, there was one tool that we would always use when we were doing cross-team collaboration. Whenever the collaboration started to get complex, we would bring in Miro. It made it incredibly easy to align stakeholders across regions and time zones and definitely teams with ease. And we were able to do all of that while being a completely remote team. It also has integrations into Jira, Azure, Rally, a lot of the tools that you're using already for product management and engineering. So you can import tasks from them as native cards, and it helps you see the big picture. It also helps stakeholders to understand what work needs to be done. It was incredibly valuable. And then they even have an estimation app that gives you a clear understanding of the work scope, lets you identify gaps, and then it has the ability for you to set clear expectations for delivery, especially when you're working across functions. So your first 3 Miro boards are free forever when you sign up today. Go to Miro.com/podcast. That's Miro.com/podcast.
So tell us a little bit about how you initially kind of forged that relationship, which I think is the missing point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's frankly a lot of it is spawned initially from blogging. So I've been writing more actively in the past year or so, and just writing about product design, growth, and just things that I'm interested in. Usually, kind of, ironically, a lot of it's based on just my conversations about talking with about products with founders and entrepreneurs. But my initial relationship with, I guess, Pando started with a cold email to Sarah Lacey. I wrote a piece called, what was it called? What Product Designers Can Learn from Phil's Coffee. And I thought it was a good post. I liked it. And I wanted to try and get some more distribution and guest post on some publications. And so I reached out to a friend on Twitter who happened to guest post, and I asked him, "Hey, how did you get a guest post on Pando Daily? Like, what was your strategy there?" And he told me that he just cold emailed Sarah. So I did the same thing. I cold emailed her. I linked her to a final draft of what I've written and gave her a couple sentence description of it and, why it'd be appropriate for Pando. And she read it and she liked it and connected with me with Adam Pennenberg, and they published it. And then from there, Adam, he enjoyed it as well. And he said, "Hey, if you have any other essays in this area, in this domain, forward them along. We'd be happy to work with you on them."
That's really cool. Really good lesson for people too.
Yeah. And cold emails work. A lot of people just are too afraid to cold email. And most of the time, an introduction is probably most appropriate and most effective. But if nothing else, cold email is not hard to do. It's really about how you do it. And if you're a blogger and you're trying to pitch something, some people make the mistake of saying, or cold emailing, or even through an introduction saying, "Hey, I want to write about this topic, blah, blah, blah. Here's what it's about." But they don't give the full draft. That puts the reporter or the publication at risk, saying they can't commit to something they haven't seen. So if you're going to cold email to get a guest post, give them the full draft, complete it, and give them a short description of why it's important or what it's about. And of course, make sure it's relevant to their audience.
And was there anything that you used in that cold email, a shared connection or anything to make her more receptive to it, to warm it up a bit? Or was it completely, you're a stranger contacting her for the first time and there happens to be a good article attached?
Yeah, that's a good question. The topic was Love Pando Monthly. So I don't know if you watched the Pando Monthly interviews, but I'm a big fan of them. I love that type of content. They're like founder interviews that Sarah Lacey does once a month. And so the subject line was just Love Pando Monthly. And I said, "Hi, Sarah. First, want to give you major props for Pando Monthly. I geek out over this type of content and really enjoy your interview style. Looking forward to talking with Borthwick next week." So she was going to interview BetaWorks Borthwick next week. Then I said, "I wrote a piece not yet published, what Phil's Coffee can teach us about product design that might be valuable for your entrepreneurial Pando Daily audience. Please let me know if you're interested." So that was it. Very simple, straightforward. And then she responded and forwarded it to Adam Pennenberg, and we connected from there. So, what I wrote was definitely customized, and I knew her style, and it was genuine. Like, I love Pando Monthly. I wasn't just making that up. But that's how I approached it.
So you're big on cross-posting a lot of your content. What's kind of your take on Medium, subtle, personal blog? Where should people be posting?
Yeah, yeah. So I get a lot of questions about that. So for those that do follow my writing, I do post on. I post everywhere. So my current approach is I will post on my own blog, which I currently just host on Tumblr. I'll post there, and then the next day or the following day, I will post on Medium, Subtle, and sometimes Quora. And the purpose for that really is just to get more distribution. It's easy enough to copy and paste and post on those different publications or those different platforms. Some people, for whatever reason, they feel like it's disingenuous, like it's something that writers shouldn't do. But in my mind, if it's relevant to the community and you're posting it in the right place on Medium, for example, then why not? Why not post it everywhere? So that is helpful sometimes in getting more distribution. Sometimes you'll find that the same essay won't take off on my own blog, but it will take off on Medium. For example, Medium is, if you write something about writing, for example, that audience is more attracted to that, which isn't surprising. So certain topics will just do better in certain platforms.
So besides what you mentioned about people thinking it might be disingenuous, we've also heard people kind of bash on writing on Medium because you're not able to run the kind of promotions, or let's say you wanted to add like a newsletter sign up at the end of the post.
Right.
You're not able to add that level of promotion, I guess, to your posts.
Mm-hmm.
So we've heard people say that you shouldn't post on Medium at all. We've tried, originally we posted everything on Medium, all three of us. And as we've gotten closer to launch and started to launch products, we've started to have our own blogs, and now we're cross-posting to Medium. But one thing we've realized is that if you post on your blog first and then post on Medium, Medium seems to take over the search rankings for the name of the article. Is there anything you do to keep credit pointed at your site, or is that not really an issue for you?
I mean, that's a completely valid concern. For me, I'm less concerned about SEO and kind of maintaining, I guess that ranking. I haven't done honestly much analysis or even looking into this, but that's one reason why I post on my own domain, and then a couple of days later we'll post elsewhere, because usually Google will then make that the canonical, I guess, search result for that specific topic. But that's not always the case. So for me, I haven't worried as much about that. That is a valid concern. But I think the value or the upside in getting more distribution is better than the risk of, having it point to Medium and not your own domain.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend. Certainly depends on what type of content you're writing, though, and what type of platform you're trying to create in your own domain, of course.
Yeah, I know in the beginning, Medium was great for us because you have an instant audience, and it's actually what's helped us build up some Twitter followers and subscribers for our product list.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we posted it on our site without anyone to email it out to, I'm not sure if we would have gotten any eyeballs on it. So I know it's been great so far, and right now we're cross-posting to it. I'm sure we'll continue posting there, especially content that makes sense for that audience. But yes, it's interesting to hear that you're posting elsewhere too. Has Quora worked out well for you?
Yeah, some type of content does really well on Quora, and I never link. Another thing that I do is I will, of course, broadcast it on Twitter and Quib and other platforms like each of my posts, but I haven't been pushing people from those channels into Quora. So I could invest more in the Quora platform, but I feel like it hasn't been as valuable for me personally. But one thing I'll note, because actually taking a quick step back, is you mentioned emails. What I do also, and what I do recommend for people that are blogging, is to try and build an email list, which you guys have done very well as well. But even though the Medium doesn't provide you a way to customize the page and have an email pop-up or whatever, it's also, you can also just add a link to your email list at the bottom of your post. So in each of my essays, in almost all of them, you'll see two different calls to action, or maybe just one, but sometimes two. One is, here I'm on Twitter, here's my username, and I make sure to spell it out, R. Hoover. And then also, if you want to read more about product design or whatever, depending on what the topic's about that I'm writing, then I also link to a link to subscribe to my blog. And I don't get a lot of subscribers out of it, but it's always worth doing because the people that do want to subscribe at least can find you that way.
This episode is supported by the AWS Insiders podcast. AWS Insiders is a fast-paced, entertaining, and insightful look behind the scenes of AWS and cloud computing. Hosts Raul Submaranian and Hillary Doyle dig into the current state and the future of AWS by talking with people and companies that know it best. It's a show that's full of opinions, takeaways, and untold stories about the challenges, innovations, and mind-blowing promise of cloud computing. I checked out AWS Insiders, and look, it is a fantastic show, and it's perfect for anyone in tech who's looking for some of those behind-the-scenes stories, for some reassurance that, yeah, things are a little nuts everywhere, and everyone is struggling with a lot of the same problems. The first episode of season 2 is all about filling the cloud talent gap, and it's an interesting discussion on what do we do to help to staff up internally. What are some of the challenges that companies are facing? Search for AWS Insiders in your podcast player. We'll also include a link in the show notes. Thank you to AWS Insiders for their support.
Yeah, we do the same. I'm not sure what Michael's response has been on it, but we, on a good post, if it's getting shared around a lot, we can get, I think, 50 to 100 subscribes out of it, which isn't huge, but if you do a few of those a month, then you're doing pretty well. Is that been the same for you?
Yeah, it depends how many times you're, or how many different places that you're directing traffic to, because we're often directing traffic to our product, to my personal blog feed. So it all gets distributed, but it's nice to give people what they're looking for. So I'd love to hear what is next for Product Hunt. What's coming down the horizon?
Yeah. So the next few months or so, what we're planning to do is really continue to monitor engagement, improve the product itself. There are a lot of features missing that we know will drive higher engagement, or at least make it more valuable and interesting. One example is our comment feed is still just a flat feed of comments, and a few things that we want to do to encourage better discussion, more interesting discussion, is one, comment upvotes. I find myself reading someone's comment and loving it and wanting to give them a pat on the back by upvoting it, but I can't, and I don't want to just comment hey, awesome post, in this flat feed of comments. So there's no way for me to give people that kind of respect. So some comment upvoting, some basic threading as well. We've been doing a lot of founder AMAs, basically Q&As with the founders of these products, and it's been really fun, but the flat feed comment doesn't allow for good discussion. It's kind of hard to follow. But with some upvoting and some threading of comments, we're hoping to encourage people to contribute more and just make it a richer discussion. So there's a few different things. There's some obvious things missing, some search. We have some ideas on how do we make the homepage a little bit better and more scalable as we add more people to the community. But overall, the next few months is really just to slowly build up that culture in the community, and then improve the product ultimately based on feedback and other ideas that we come up with.
Yeah, I have to say the AMAs are probably one of the most enjoyable feature in Product Hunt, because oftentimes I don't know who built the product. But having that direct line to that, that 24 hours where they're paying attention is just awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because I personally like it a lot. And right now, there's not much feedback that we're getting because of the limitations of comments to know how much are people reading it and how much are they enjoying it. So that's good to hear.
And one of the best, I think you have great onboarding for the creators of the products themselves. There's a million ways that you could try to automate that or get people to sign up. But I don't know if this is what you do for everyone, but when HookFeed was featured on there, you reached out to me and said that there was a conversation going on tied to the post. And the only thing I'm going to do at that point is go sign up and take part in it.
Yes.
Do you find that with most of the people that are making these products?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like I said in the very beginning of this interview, people like to talk about themselves. So I'm not surprised. It's been some of it is outward. So, for example, when HookFeed was on there, I know you from the internets, and I'm like, oh, okay, I better reach out to Matt and bring him in here. And in other cases, people find it themselves. Maybe someone posted in their product, they have maybe a Google alert or some sort of like monitoring service that monitors when their product is posted, or they see it on Twitter being mentioned, and then they find Product Hunt and they say, oh, I want to join this discussion, or, oh, hey, everybody, you better upvote our product, which is, there's some gaming of our site, which, we'll have to address longer term, but it's kind of a high class problem to have founders bring in dozens of people to upvote products.
And that's actually how we found it. I had found the site probably a couple of weeks before, and I had mentioned to my co-founder that this is a site that we should keep our eye on because it'd be great if we got on here. And then we started seeing some Twitter activity around Brandisty more than we usually see. And we finally traced it back to Product Hunt, and John Lax had submitted it. So it was a really cool connection too, because he was someone that we admired and looked up to. And he was actually on your site endorsing the product. So that connection to make was really cool.
Nice. Yeah, I love to hear that. That's fun. We actually had the founder of AppQ's, I don't know if you saw this, this was maybe a month ago. Founder of AppQ's product was posted by, I can't remember who offhand, and it ended up getting on the top of the leaderboard that day. And this was back when we had maybe half as many subscribers and people using the site. And he jumped in the comments and he told us afterwards like how valuable that traffic was for him. The audience, it was a brand new product, so he hadn't had much engagement or traction or feedback. And immediately he got, I don't know, over 100 signups that day, and was engaging with the audience, and they were being very receptive and giving good feedback. And the following day, he created a special landing page, and it was a special sign up for product hunters, he called it. And he was giving them like priority access to try out his like beta product ahead of everyone else. And it was just super awesome to see people, one, get like a lot of value and good feedback from their early product, but then two, for them to like capitalize on it and like kind of give some respect to the community by creating that landing page.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it shows the value of the audience that you created for him. So, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's an audience of people that, again, like talking about products, and whether their feedback is good or not, they're super willing to give that feedback, and like to help entrepreneurs and founders. That's kind of what startups are largely about, is that pay it forward kind of mentality.
Earlier, before we press record, you were talking about what makes blogging worth it for you, and I feel like we should close on that. It was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, I think you asked the question, what is like success of blogging, and I don't have a success metrics or like a binary, yes, this was a good post or not. You never know what post will do well and what won't. So for me, I am vain in many ways. I'll admit it. Like, I like to see a lot of people read my stuff, and I like to see a lot of people share it. And that does mean something. When a lot of people share it, it means that they find value in it. At the same time, there's value in having just that one reader read what you wrote and have it change their perspective, or maybe what they're doing or what they're building. One of the posts that I wrote actually on Medium originally, maybe 6 months ago when I was deciding to leave Playhaven, was just a recount of my kind of story at Playhaven and why I was leaving a company. And although that was very successful in terms of page views and sharing, I did get a lot of direct emails, probably 70 actually, of people that said, this is exactly how I feel. Like, I've been in the same position. I also am like looking to leave my company. I've lost a passion for what I'm doing, so on and so forth. And just having that, even just one email from one person like that, makes it entirely worthwhile to spend several hours writing that post. So it's that kind of human connection that blogging can enable sometimes that makes it super valuable to me. At the same time, it's kind of scary too, because I don't know about you, but I also feel, am I giving them shitty advice? That's why I've also written about the importance of reading everything and taking any advice with context. So whatever I say may not be applicable to you, and I think that's true for anything you read or any advice you get in life.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here and giving us your time and insight.
Cool. Yeah, this has been really fun.
We really appreciate it. And go to producthunt.co and check out Ryan's blog.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, this is Mary Beth Lassiter. Are you craving a new podcast? I've got a recommendation. Check out Gravy, the James Beard award-winning podcast that shares stories of the changing American South, brought to you through the foods we eat. It's produced by the Southern Foodways Alliance and distributed by APT Podcast Studios. Listen to Gravy on your porch during happy hour to hear about the mystery of the missing Pappy Van Winkle bourbon. Don't miss out. Follow Gravy wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey guys, welcome to The Collective. I'm Brianne Helfrich, a 26-year-old bioethics PhD student and clothing brand CEO. Welcome to my podcast where we talk all things health and wellness, navigating your 20s, and becoming the best version of yourself. So, sit down, play that episode, and join The Collective.